The world of the internet.
It can get a bit much sometimes.
I don't die.
Pretty much, yeah.
Welcome to
Move Over Mother Teresa.
What is my purpose? What am I gonna contribute to the world?
Interviews with creators who
Show the world
give
vulnerability and masculinity.
Encourage consciousness.
Can I swear?
This is Move Over Mother Teresa. I'm Mira Kumar, and today I'm joined by my co-hosts Tom Cledwin and Fee McKenzie, and creator Sophie Jones. Now, Sophie's videos are really hard for me to watch. They make my insides crumple up with secondhand embarrassment and fear, and that is not an insult to Sophie. That's probably a testament to how ambitious her videos are, because Sophie does something called rejection therapy. So she will go out of her way to get rejected, and that might be her crawling on the floor in the middle of a public space, or as she gets off the bus saying something like, "Bye everyone, I hope you had a good day," or maybe after she watches a theatre performance, she asks to get up on stage and sing something. That might sound crazy to you, but Sophie says that it has completely changed her life. So check this episode out and maybe try to get rejected today.
Starting the gym can be scary, so I'm going to prove to you that no one cares in the gym as much as you. I stumbled across self-development and realised that you can actually work on your mind and reprogram it to work for you instead of working against you.
Has the world stopped spinning?
No.
I'm having a good time.
Okay, Sophie.
Hello.
Have you done anything that is slightly wild that most people wouldn't do on an ordinary day, today or in the past few days?
Well, yesterday I went into Asda, and as I was packing my bags, I whipped out Mr. Sickle, my sock puppet, and Mr. Sickle helped me pack my bags. And then I went and ordered a coffee with Mr. Sickle, just to push myself out of my comfort zone.
When you say you ordered a coffee with Mr. Sickle, do you mean you walked up to the barista and said, like, you did a voice with the sock puppet?
Yeah, I gave a full performance. So I am Sophie, and then Mr. Sickle unexpectedly comes out. So Mr. Sickle starts ordering the coffee for me, and I'm like, "Mr. Sickle, what are you doing? Shut up." And then he just keeps popping out, and he's really annoying, but he's also really cute. So
Can you describe this puppet for us?
oh, it's a sock puppet. I made it myself.
Oh.
But he's really come to life now. He's got a pink feather coming out of his ear and an orange feather, and then googly eyes and a pom-pom for a nose. And he comes out sometimes. And I do that to push myself out of my comfort zone.
And so for listeners, watchers, still wondering why on earth you would do something like that. What is the broader story of what you do and why you do it?
So I do something called rejection therapy, and the whole point is you purposely push yourself out your comfort zone and put yourself in awkward and uncomfortable situations so that you can overcome the fear of judgment and embarrassment. And you might be thinking, well, why would you do that? But we all hold ourselves back so much in our daily lives. We might not ask our manager for stuff or speak up to a partner because we're scared of maybe getting a no and getting rejected. So if you overcome the fear of rejection and public rejection, imagine how much more free your life would be. You'd just be limitless. So that is what I do, and I do it online. I've been doing it for about a year now, and it's completely transformed my life, transformed my confidence, and it inspires people.
That's so cool. What about that concept made you think, I need to do this?
Because it scared me so much. So I've been interested in self-development now for about 4 years, because I used to really struggle with anxiety, low self-worth, and I started working on my mindset and realised how much it can actually change your life by befriending your mind rather than letting it just run rampant. So I came across rejection therapy on my TikTok For You page, and I watched a girl go into a coffee shop and ask to make her own coffee. And the whole point of it is she's going to ask to make a coffee, and probably the barista is going to say no. What an odd thing to say. But by hearing the no more times, you can become desensitized to it. So it just made my skin crawl. I thought, how entitled would I seem asking to make my own coffee? But also they're going to judge me and I'm going to get rejected. But because I was so into self-development, I thought, if it scares you that much, you clearly care what people think of you. So why don't you just do 30 days of rejection therapy? And that's how it started.
Which you did in May 2024.
Yeah.
And tell me, what were the rules of the challenge? Walk me through those early experiments.
So the rules of the challenge are get rejected every day for 30 days. How you go about getting rejected is completely up to you. However, most people don't actually like to reject other people. So that means that the requests you ask people get bolder and bolder as the challenge goes on. For example, day 1 might be asking my sister if she'd like to borrow my hairbrush. She might not need a hairbrush in, but just by me saying, do you want to borrow it? She goes, no, I'm all right, thanks. And you building up that resilience of hearing the word, no, I'm okay, thank you, which for a lot of people, and for me especially in the past, who had a big fear of rejection, just hearing, no, I'm all right, thanks, actually struck a nerve a little bit because I used to take it so personally. But then as you go through the challenge, you approach strangers, and I've been into a pizza shop and said, can I help you deliver pizzas? And the person behind the counter was like, what, do you want a job? And I was like, no, just today, can I just help you deliver pizzas? And I thought people would be like, no. But I realised really quickly, people are like, oh no, we're all right, thank you. And people are just nice about it.
It's funny because I have a visceral reaction to your content, and even you describing the sock puppet, my eyes started to water with like, I don't know if it's fear or like just discomfort, but you're talking about it and I'm just imagining you with the sock puppet and just feeling mortified. So it's funny that it elicits such a physical reaction.
Yeah, the cringe. Yeah, it's so powerful, isn't it? And in those early days of the challenge, what were you learning? What were you kind of taking away?
What I learned very quickly is what people think of me can't actually hurt me, which held me hostage in my life so much. It would stop me from going into the gym class and standing at the front or reaching out to an old friend in case they said they didn't want to meet up with me. And what I realised is what I think of myself is the most important thing. And I realised that because I was going up to strangers and saying, oh my God, I love your shoes. Please, could I try them on? And I'm walking away and they probably think, oh, what? That's the weirdest interaction I've ever had. How weird, what a nutter. But once I'd walked away, I realised I'm still breathing. The world hasn't stopped spinning and actually nothing has changed, which then makes me realise that what people think of you can't hurt you. And that was like the biggest takeaway I took away from it very quickly.
Yeah, I identify with this so much. The anxiety of like sticking out or getting things wrong or, lots of different things have really weighed down on me in my life.
Or the confrontation of that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That gives me the absolute heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. So one, power to you for doing that, because I definitely would have loved to have seen your account when I was younger. But two, I just think you're really like helping people understand that there is like a different way. You don't have to be so like anxiety stricken. It actually doesn't matter, so much what people think of you, right?
And you don't have to tread so carefully in life. And I think a lot of us do that to make other people comfortable. We don't want to make other people uncomfortable. We don't want to make ourselves uncomfortable. And so we tread really carefully. And then it stops you living your life as, I guess, boundlessly as you want to.
Yeah, I've definitely realised that. I think it's important because we all feel like anxiety holds us back in ways we don't even realise. And when you realise that you are so much braver than you think, because I know I take my challenges to the extreme because I've been doing it a while and I'm still here, I'm still breathing. So I'm like, why not take the sock puppet to Costa Coffee? Because nothing's going to happen. But I've realised that we are so much braver than we think. And by purposely putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation and not just running away from it, then it builds your resilience. Like even asking for a discount on a coffee, that used to make my skin crawl. And to be fair, it still would. But just asking for the discount and sitting in that discomfort and then realising that it doesn't matter what they think of me, it is what it is. It's just life-changing.
Do you know what this makes me think of? I read like a blog. The author was talking about how back in the day when our societies were really small, we were in villages and we only knew a few people. It really mattered that you liked me and it really mattered that I liked you, because if you didn't like me, then maybe you wouldn't sell food to me. And if I didn't like you, then I wouldn't give you access to the stream so you couldn't get fresh water. So actually it was really important to be palatable to other people and to not make people uncomfortable because our survival depended on it. But society has grown exponentially. Our brains maybe haven't grown as fast. And so we still feel that need to make everybody comfortable.
Is that Sapiens? Would that
And
be
it was
something?
definitely a very lowbrow blog that I found. It was not a book.
But it's very true, right? We evolved to exist in communities of, say, 150 people, and now suddenly we are exposed to 7 billion or more. So I just wonder on that point, and perhaps this is the point, but it feels like your content does so well, right? And there's two ways in which your content could have gone down, right? The secondhand embarrassment for people watching could have been a real turn-off. I mean, logically, that makes sense, actually. It's the last thing I sort of want to watch in a weird kind of way is someone putting themselves out there and embarrassing themselves and feeling that cringe, you know, from my phone screen. But at the same time, that's not what's happening. You've got this amazing following and you're clearly showing and modeling something people really resonate and take a lot of value from, which we'll get into a bit later. But I'm wondering why you think your content resonates. Like, do we exist in a time where we all feel so much more susceptible to rejection than we have done previously? Or is it some other reason that you can think of?
I think my content resonates so much because we all have these inner thoughts of wanting to pursue stuff. It could even be posting yourself on social media or starting a new business adventure. As simple as wearing a new outfit that's been sat in your wardrobe but you're a bit nervous to wear. Yet a lot of us lack the confidence to do it because we're scared of judgment. And I think by me doing these challenges where maybe I go into the smoothie shop. So one I did yesterday is I went into a smoothie shop and I took my own banana and I said, please can I have this smoothie, but could I have it with my banana? And she was like, oh no, we can't do that. But by someone watching that video of me asking a bit of a silly, ridiculous request, hopefully it then gives them the confidence to, in McDonald's, ask for their own ketchup. Like, oh, you open your bag from your takeaway order and they've missed your chips and it might be like, oh, it's fine, just leave it. Or your restaurant brings your food over and it's not what you ordered and you say to your partner, oh, it's fine, just leave it. Hopefully, and I think this is why it resonates, by watching me do something outlandish and it going okay, that them saying, oh, you forgot my chips in my order, or I'm going to wear this new hat, gives them the confidence to do everyday kind of stuff. And I think that's the messages I get from people, which is very nice.
This is interesting, right? Because I didn't think of it as helping you actually advocate for yourself. For example, the I guess a really serious example of what your work could do is encourage someone at the doctor, for example, to say, but I would really like for you to do this test, or I need this thing, or no, it does hurt, even if you say that it's not a big deal. So the impact could be really serious. As much as you're doing a smoothie and a banana, they could be asking for a test that saves their life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm so glad you said that because you've hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what it's about. And going on my own journey of rejection therapy, I've been able to advocate for myself now. And you're right, it is. It's about inspiring people to stand up for themselves and speak their mind, because you can speak up for yourself and not be rude about it. And my content inspires people to do that, which is nice.
There are many ways to get this message across. There was a TED Talk 15 years ago by a chap called Tim Ferriss, and he spoke about this notion of fear setting, and it was actually a framework, right? When you're worried about something, write down, try and articulate what that fear is for you, then write down a version of it that is the worst it could possibly be. And then in a very practical sense, think about who you can rely on to avoid it happening and what you would need to do to solve if it did. Anyway, by the end of this framework, you're at a point where you've just mitigated, you've just proven to yourself that this fear is actually nothing really to worry about, and the world will keep on spinning no matter what happens. But as a TED Talk, an 18-minute talk that went viral and got millions of views, like that feels like a real sign of yesterday or 15 years ago. And yet you're here on TikTok making these videos, you know, that are short. You know, it's just a totally different way to communicate kind of the same message, really. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk to us a little bit about the packaging with which you do what you do? Like you alluded to earlier, the joy and the fun and even the kind of edit style and whatever it is. Like, do you think about the way you're communicating your message through your content like that?
Yeah, I definitely want to get my content across in a fun way, because everyone's such different learners as well. And I know I personally would much rather watch somebody actively practice what they preach, because people always ask me, do I get nervous to film these videos? And sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. But I could sit in front of a camera and say, when you're nervous, feel the fear and do it anyway. But what I'm doing in my videos, it's actively showing the audience, I am nervous right now and I am about to go and do something silly. I'm about to walk into a barber's and ask if I can have a go cutting someone's hair because they're going to say no to me. And they can go on that journey with me in like a fun way. And then that's joyous for me as well. As much as it's scary beforehand, I do feel very liberated after it.
What is like the craziest or wildest or cringiest thing that, well, experiments really that you've done in the past like year or so?
Oh, the cringiest one. Oh, it gets me every time. I was in Liverpool city centre and I thought, what can I do right now that's going to draw eyes on me and help me overcome my fear of judgment? I thought, I know, I'll just get on all fours and crawl around the patio. So I did. And then I had a scarf on as well. And I thought, hashtag rejection therapy. I'm going to ask people if they'd like to walk me because they're going to say no.
Oh my God. The fact that this idea occurred to you is insane.
I didn't give it much thought, to be honest. I just thought they're going to say no, let's do it. It still gets me to this day.
Did people walk you?
No one walked me, thank God.
Yeah, that's probably a good
I would be crimson even just seeing that in the shopping centre.
Yeah, it was awful.
Oh
I got the worst, dirtiest looks I've ever got in my life. These girls came up to me, laughed at me. I thought they recognised me from my videos, but normally when people recognise me, they will say hello. These girls didn't. They walked over, laughed, took a photo, and then walked off. Yeah, and afterwards I thought, that was bad. I shouldn't have done that one. That was bad. So that's probably the cringiest one I've ever done because as much as it is in line with rejection therapy, it gets people to stare and judge and nothing happened. I think that one was just a little bit demoralising.
Does something like that you look back on and you think, maybe I shouldn't have done that one, does that affect you differently? Like, does that change, all the rejection therapy experiments you're doing, they change your mindset in some way, they push the needle forward for what you're doing, but do those ones in particular that make you feel a little bit worse or a bit more demoralised, do they have a different kind of impact on you?
It's interesting because a lot of my rejection therapies, people ask, am I lay there up at night thinking about all the stuff I've done? And I've not, and I don't, and I think it's because my brain has realised that it can't affect me. Like, I've done so many now that I'm still alive.
Yeah, your neural pathways have been, routed a completely different way now.
Yes. Whereas with the dog walking one, I knew it had affected me because it was late at night and I was still thinking about it. So it took me about a day to get over that one. But that was it. But it has changed my mindset because then in my everyday life, like let's say I accidentally tripped up or was speaking to someone and stuttered my words, old me would have really replayed that conversation. Like, everyone's guilty, aren't they, of replaying a conversation and, oh, what did they think of me? Whereas now, I just think, and what? Like, nothing quite tops crawling around Liverpool City floor.
I found myself coming out of King's Cross Station a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lady there with bags in her hands, and her shoes were undone. And she sort of stopped, and I just got down and started tying her shoes up. And it was only at that point that all the fear.
Did you ask?
No, I just didn't think, actually. So I wouldn't have done it had I actually thought. I would have given myself a million reasons not to do it. But I just didn't think about it. I've got 2 young kids who are always with their shoes undone. So I think I'm just spending half my life tying shoes up anyway. So I was down like this. And as my head was down on her shoe, tying it up, only at that point did I think, oh, shit. Like, what must she be thinking right now? Is she offended? All these fears that, of course, don't even stand up anyway. But it was really amazing. So it was an accidental bit of rejection therapy simply because I was actually just daydreaming as I went to do it. But she was so touched. In fact, I walked on up the hill and she then, about 30 seconds later, ran up and caught up with me. So I just have to say that was like the most special thing that's happened to me all year. Aww. Just tying someone's shoes. But it was, I think of it now in conversations like this. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I did that simply because I wasn't thinking. But then how would I, in moments when I am thinking and therefore thinking of all the things that could go wrong, convince myself just to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's very kind, but if you'd done that to me, I probably
kicked me.
I would have booted you. So
well, I would have tied your shoes together for you, to be honest. But there's one video, just sort of, I guess, on this a little bit. There's so a lot of your videos are about actually putting yourself in a position of discomfort, right? Mm-hmm. But and the same thing applies here. But you went up to this old chap and you say he looks so cute, and you just said, I'm going to go and talk to him. And then you're kind of filming his feet, really, and obviously putting a camera in his face. And you just have this amazing dialogue. And he's clearly so touched that you would just spend the time to chat with him. He's talking about the sausage roll he ate, and he treated himself because he had 2 scones today or whatever as well. It's just really sweet. So I'm curious, within the sort of theme of actually like how we treat each other and those moments to actually be there for each other rather than to be fearful of rejection. Do you see it as actually like a superpower to be more present for people and kind to people and helpful for other people as well?
Since doing rejection therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I see the world in such a different place, and bringing it back to you tying the shoes, that is such an amazing moment. And you're right, like, if you were in your house and you'd thought today, I'm going to challenge myself and I'm going to do a rejection therapy challenge, and I'm not even going to say hi, I'm just going to start tying someone's shoes, the thought and the anxiety that would come up before it would probably stop you. But whereas if you just kind of get out of your mind and try and just go with your body, it goes to show that it's never really as bad as we think, and you can really make people's day. And that's what rejection therapy is all about, is try not to overthink it and just do it. But yeah, I'm more present in life, and even just connecting with strangers. And the thing why we all hate strangers, well, not hate, but fear them, I think, is because as a child, it's drilled into us stranger danger, which is really important when you're a child. But as an adult, you have a different level of discernment, and you don't need that same fearful energy, because you can probably guess whether someone's going to harm you or not. So just provoking a conversation at a bus stop, or sitting next to someone on the train and saying like, oh, how's your day been? Like, we normally wouldn't do that now, whereas rejection therapy has really helped me lean into community with people.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like the benefits to yourself are clear, but actually in most of these interactions there's a benefit for someone else as well. There was a study done last year with 60,000 people, done by the BBC and the University of Sussex, who have this kind of compassion research department. And they asked people to list their sort of top 5 barriers or challenges when faced with an opportunity to do something kind for someone. And number 1 on that list, you'd assume it would be, I don't know, I don't have enough time, or it's too costly. But the number 1 thing on that list from 60,000 people was fear of rejection, fear of how it would be perceived, whether it's, that someone would think that you were doing it for a particular agenda, or that it would be misunderstood, all this kind of stuff. I just find that amazing, right? That actually this same fear of rejection stops us from doing so much good for others as well as ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And it goes back to what you said at the beginning, which is so true. The science aspect of why we fear rejection. And it is because in early human stages of life, we were in tribes. And if you weren't accepted in that tribe, you were faced in like a life or death situation. But in this modern day society, we don't need that same level of fear of rejection, yet it is still within us, which is why if there's gossip in the workplace or your friends falling out with you, it can really provoke this like fight or flight response. And sometimes you've just got to remind yourself that I am not going to die by asking someone this question or doing this act of service or act of kindness.
Hi, it's Mira, just a quick one. Can you send me a voice note letting me know who you want to donate your ad slot to for your episode?
Hi Mira, I'd like to dedicate my ad slot to the Andy's Man Club. They are a charity that supports men's mental health. They have free talking groups across the UK, and they encourage a non-judgmental peer-to-peer safe space to talk about your feelings. Talk about anything you want, actually. But I love everything they stand for, and I think there's a big stigma around men's mental health. So this is who I'd like to dedicate my ad slot to. And they meet every Monday at 7. It's free. You don't have to book, and you can find out the closest one to you via their Instagram.
And it's resonated with your audience pretty quickly, right? Because you started in August 2023. You were posting like a daily mindset tip because you're interested in mindset, self-help, the psychology of things. So you're doing this, you have about 4,000 followers. Then May 2024, you do your 30-day experiment, skyrocket to about 30K. That is ridiculously fast. But then you are being perceived, eyes on you online and offline, because you're doing this rejection therapy. So that's a lot for your brain. That's a lot for your body. Were there things that you had to do mentally to prepare for all of that attention? in such a short space of time. I really have to stress that. It's so quick.
Yeah, it's not something that people often talk about, is being perceived by a massive amount of people on the internet. And it's so common for people to want to be influencers and want to do social media, and actually thinking to yourself, like, how would I feel being perceived by millions of people? Because again, it can trigger our fight and flight. And I noticed when my account started to grow, as much as like, oh my God, this is amazing, look at all these followers, it does make you think like, oh, there's now this pressure to maintain it, and the judgment, the hate comments, yada, yada, yada. So I had to reprogram my mind to feel safe being seen by massive amount of people. And ways I did that was making myself feel safe being seen in my everyday life. Now, stay with me, it will make sense. For example, I'd go to the park and I'd put my headphones on, and I wouldn't be filming it, it'd just be my own little challenge, and I'd start dancing in the park, and everyone would probably be looking, oh, look at that girl dancing. But it was reprogramming my mind that it's safe for me to have eyeballs on me. And then another one, I'd dance at my window when cars are passing, because like you're dancing and you're like, oh, best stop because cars are going past. I wouldn't shut the curtains, I'd keep dancing. And then I'd do ice baths, and when I was doing these ice baths, I'd say to myself, it's safe for me to be seen. Another thing is EFT tapping, because if your subconscious mind doesn't feel safe being perceived by a massive amount of people, which naturally we don't feel safe because it goes against all our survival instincts, you won't show up authentically on camera, or you'll get an idea but you won't do it because you'll be scared of the response. So you really got to retrain your brain to feel safe being perceived online.
FT tapping?
EFT tapping, yeah. Have you never heard of it?
No.
Oh, it's life-changing.
And for those just listening, Sophie's currently tapping her head.
It's if any of you guys heard of EFT tapping?
Yeah, do you do it on your vagus nerve as well? Is that right behind your ears?
And like here, maybe.
Yeah, so you have like acupuncture points, and just by tapping it, I used to think this was a load of waffle, right? But just by tapping it and saying affirmations calms your nervous system and reprograms your nervous system. And I've done that. I do it when I'm nervous. I do it when, like, if I want to manifest. And it really just, I've had massive results by just tapping my body in these different places.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious, right? Because you've built a huge following. And my assumption is that your whole kind of message is very brand safe. I mean, there is not a brand out there that doesn't want to be associated with the idea of standing up for yourself or doing what you want, or whatever, whatever this sort of all stands for. So how quickly did you start hearing from brands, and how did those conversations, or how have those conversations gone over the last year?
So when I first started my TikTok, everyone knows to put like an email in their bio so people can reach out to you. And I started to get emails through, but there were nothing of relevance to me and brands I would work with. And then I got on management maybe, I think in August last year, and I started in May, so maybe like a few months. I got management, and then they are really amazing and help me with brands, and they monitor the emails and stuff like that. So that's how I navigate brands and stuff.
And I haven't seen any branded content. Presumably you've done brand partnerships. Mm-hmm. And so what work has that looked like? Who are the brands, and how did that go? I've
done a lot of work on brands that are about like empowerment, so pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So like I did a collab the other day with a train company, and they wanted me to do something that was like out of my comfort zone. So I went and had a boat ride, which I know is not scary, but it was to me. And then a lot of brands like my positive energy, and not a lot of people are approaching strangers. So sometimes I'll do content where I'm incorporating maybe the public's reviews and reactions to maybe a product that I'm helping promote.
So you touched upon it a second ago about, starting up as a creator and not knowing to have the, your email address and your bio and that sort of thing. And on the course of this podcast, we've heard from a few creators who are trying to manage it themselves. But obviously you got management pretty quickly, really, only in like a 4 months. So what has been, I guess, the benefit, about a benefit that you've taken from from being in the sort of business side of content creation now, taking it more kind of professionally?
Oh, I'd definitely say from like a personal point of view, you obviously, when you're doing it yourself, you've got to manage your own time, you're coming up with the ideas. So about motivating myself. Like I've become good at being disciplined and motivation. Because to be honest, going up to someone and asking them, can I try your hat on, is the last thing I want to do that day. You like to purposely put myself in an uncomfortable situation. I'd just say the obvious, be family friendly. I mean, I know I personally aren't a swearer, but I wouldn't start swearing in my videos or promote anything that goes against my morals. And then a business side, don't forget to have fun, because when you do start to earn money off it, it can become a more pressurizing thing. So trying to have faith that the right collabs will come in when they're meant to, and money will flow when it's meant to, rather than getting stuck on when's the next thing coming in. I'd say a big thing to business is the mindset side of it.
Yeah, because you are putting yourself out there, and in the the hope that these brands will like what you're doing, but you're being a content creator. Obviously you can have like relationship with brands, but it does also depend on the marketing budget and the time of year and what's kind of culturally happening, and whether they want to tap into this kind of the joy that you're bringing, or the style of content that you're doing like right now. So yeah, it is the mindset thing. I think it's very tough to be a content creator, and especially being a professional content creator that does it full time, because you have to have the belief that you've got a future in this, and that people will see it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fee, you manage a lot of talent, right? And this is a world that I don't know what those brand emails look like. I don't know how quickly they come. Are brands generally looking for you to have at least a certain number of followers, or are they looking more at engagement now? So I wonder if you can demystify just a little bit some of those things.
It depends on the brand and what their priorities are, what their KPIs are. Do they want to? Is it brand awareness? Do they want to sell product? Do they need to reach a specific audience? And what they're looking for is, I guess, creators that speak their kind of language, or they have the same sort of brand voice, or connect with the type of audience or consumer that brand wants to reach. When it comes to kind of metrics, followings do matter, but we're seeing more and more that brands are working with micro creators as well, because when you're a micro creator, you can really nurture a community, and you often get higher engagement rates.
What are we talking about when we say micro creator?
But people have different sort of levels. But I say a micro creator is under 100K. I would say
that's not very micro in my mind. Well, I thought you were going to say 5,000.
Well, yeah, that's yeah. Well, it really depends. Some brands would classify micro creators under 100K, but we do have creators on our roster who have 9K, and they work with different brands. But yeah, brands they do care about metrics, and it's maybe not the metrics that you think. So it's not just about your actual following size, but it's where is your audience based. So if you're a UK-based brand, or a brand that is trying to sort of penetrate a market within the UK, then you really want a higher percentage of UK followers. It could also be your audience age demographic, and it can also be about engagement rate and reach as well. So as a brand, you have to sort of make a sort of trade-off sometimes and see some brands will say, look, we're only looking for this level of engagement rate, for example, or we need you to have over 50% of your audience needs to be from the UK. So it really
so they'll
depends.
Email you and say, we're interested, but here are the things we're looking for, and then you have to provide that information.
They would probably be able to pull that information.
Yeah, there's a lot of platforms now like Creator IQ, Foam, that will that has that kind of estimation on there already. But yeah, you might a brand might approach you and say, can we have a look at your demographics? And people will have to sort of send screenshots. I'm sure you've had to send screenshots. Yeah, if they want an update. Yeah. But it really depends where your content is at. I guess sort of aspirationally according to the brand.
Interesting.
Sophie, what do you know about your audience beyond demographics? What's your sense of who they are and why they follow you?
I would say I have a broad mix of audience. When I first ever got approached in public, it was 2 young girls, teenagers, and I thought, oh, maybe that's my audience. And then a week later, I was in Primark, and a mum who must have been in her 30s with 2 children was like, oh, I love your video so much. And then I've had men approach me. So I definitely have a mix of people, which is nice, because I know what you said earlier, it can inspire young people. And I know me younger needed the content I create now. But it's nice to know that it's also resonating for people of any age.
You looked at me then.
The older generation.
The older generation. No, seriously. I said to you before the recording, I wish your page existed way before it does now, because that sort of limiting belief has really kept me in a certain position. And I would say I'm quite like a confident person, so I know that there's lots of people out there that have seen you do what you do online, and hopefully feel a little bit braver and a little bit more willing to just put themselves out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, it's never too late. I think a lot of content, I talk to a lot of commissioners and they're like, we're really trying to get the 18 to 25 audience. And I'm thinking, there are people in the, other age brackets with more disposable income and really know what they're interested in and have more time on their hands. And so I don't think it's ever too late to latch on to these theories that you're talking about rejection therapy and agency and advocating for yourself, because sometimes we write off, once you're above 25 or whatever, we're like, okay, it was a bit late. You can do it when you can wish you had that when you were a teenager. But
it's funny, once you get older than 25, you stop writing off anyone younger than anyone older than 25, just to let you know.
But I think I just think it's nice to remind people of that. Like, it's not too late to see someone younger than you doing something amazing and then be inspired by that and do it too. So I love that. We were talking about, so I asked you that question, and I know that you were a social media manager before you started being a creator. How much, bearing in mind that you started May 2024 with your series, you were a full-time creator by July 2024 because you managed to match your salary. That is phenomenal. That's phenomenal. How much did you, being a social media manager, help you accelerate that growth?
It helped me accelerate my growth in not the ways you're thinking. So I had no experience in social media before becoming a social media manager. And just for the people listening at home, just a backstory on my career so far. I did musical theatre at college, just musical theatre. So I've always been quite creative. And another thing is, people say, how can you do musical theatre but care what people think of you? But when you're on stage, that was like an escape. It's who I was off stage that bothered me. Anyway, I then left college and went and did an apprenticeship in a vet's and got an animal care apprenticeship, but left that because it wasn't creative enough. And then I knew I wanted something creative and saw the job opening for the social media manager. And I was like, well, at this point, social media isn't a degree. Anyone can do it. And I know I'm a creative person. So I applied for the job and just really sold myself with the creativity I had. And how it helped me was I was a social media manager for a gym. So I would have to go into the gym, which was an anxious place for me anyway, and film these videos like that.
Oh, you were filming yourself?
Yeah, in the gym, but even putting up a tripod, or I'd have to travel around to different gyms and meet people on the daily and push myself out of my comfort zone all the time. So I think that's how it helped me in my own social media. But the company I worked for were really amazing, but they didn't know much about social media either. So I just realised that having a personality, people like to connect with a personality and make them creative, make your videos creative. I'd say it just helped me in a creative, push myself out my comfort zone way for rejection therapy.
What are your thoughts on like social media as like a force for good? Because how I see it is that there has long been a tradition of social media where people put out their best selves, and like whether it be face tuning their images, or it's only putting out the best, like the highlight reels. And now it is way, especially through like the emergence of TikTok, people are way more kind of like messy and out there. And obviously with what you're doing, it's very real. And so there's a kind of like tension there between how we perceive ourselves on social media, and also like what we're using kind of social media for. And yeah, I'm really curious to know like what are your kind of thoughts, and they can be conflicting as well. So yeah.
Overall, it is an amazing place. I know I personally wouldn't be as far as I am in my self-development journey without social media and watching these videos of these people with tips and tricks. But being on the other side of social media and being a content creator, people who are consuming social media, you just need to be aware as a viewer that not everything you're seeing is real, and people do naturally perform for a camera, edit themselves, face tune, all that stuff. And I just think, knock your socks off on social media, but I do think you have to have a level of awareness as a viewer that not everything you're consuming is real life.
So if I can push you on that, because I totally agree, like that need for people to sort of behave with social media in a way that includes just like bringing critical thinking to it and curation and all this kind of stuff. How do we bring that as a mindset to people who use social media, especially like young people? Like what is it that we can communicate and how to bring that awareness to people?
I think there just needs to be a level of responsibility from the viewer, because people are going to post on social media and they're going to post whatever they want. And likely, because people have got their own fears of rejection, their own egos, they're going to put out their best selves. So I think maybe viewing social media as a learning platform / entertainment platform rather than this is how the world works, like this is how people operate, because we all know comparison is a big thing, and especially on social media. You might be 23 and don't know what you want to do with your life yet, whereas your friend has bought a car, got a baby, etc., etc. So everyone's at different points, and by having social media you are instantly exposed to that. So I think you have to, as a viewer, just take your own responsibility and monitor your thoughts. How often are you getting caught up in social media to a point where it's affecting you in a negative way? And then that is your responsibility to maybe limit your time on social media, have a few days off if you feel like going on it is impacting you in a negative way.
But I wanted to talk about, the ripple effect of what you are doing. So have lots of people kind of joined in, or have people sort of started doing a similar thing online? Yeah, what does that look like?
I've seen so many people take inspiration from my videos and post video and tag me in it where they've tried out their own rejection therapy, which is good. When I first started rejection therapy, the hashtag rejection therapy had 4,000 uses, which in the world of social media isn't a lot. It now has 12,000 uses. So people are doing it more, but it still is a very new, unique concept. So yeah, and then people tag me in videos how they say they'll share their story of how my videos have helped them. And I think that's so surreal, because you don't truly realise the impact you have, I don't think. Because to me, it's my everyday, I get up and I'm like, what can I do today? And I know I'm inspiring people, but when I actually meet someone in person and they say, oh my God, I've been watching you and it's helped me do this, it's really fulfilling and rewarding.
So if I want to start rejection therapy, what do I need to think about? Do I jump right into crawling on the floor in London? I can't do it. It's not going to happen, Sophie.
Come on, Mira, we can do it.
What tips do you have for people starting?
Start small. Everyone's comfort zone is completely different. So do not look at a video that I posted yesterday of me whipping out Mr. Sickle and think, oh my God, I need to do that, because it will actually do the reverse of what you want it to, because pushing yourself out your comfort zone obviously creates an anxiety spike. So start with your friends and family, and I personally would ask questions that they'll probably say no to, but they could say yes to. So asking your friend if they want any chewing gum, do you want to borrow my hairbrush? Passing a stranger on a walk and saying, hi, do you know the time? And just get used to slowly pushing yourself out your comfort zone. When I first started approaching strangers, I would approach people in shops, like staff workers, and I wouldn't be disruptive, but I would ask them questions maybe like, do you need any help doing what you're doing? Because I know that they have because they're in work mode, they can't just act out. So it did provide that level of safety. So I'd say that. But I'd say it's never as big a deal as you think it is. So it's built up in your head, like maybe going into a donut shop and asking for a specialised donut. That feels like a big deal, but to that worker, it's just a passing moment in their day. And even on my way here today, I was in the train station and someone, who hand out flyers and stuff, I walked past him and he was like, do you have a hairbrush? And I know he was just saying it to me to get me to stop to speak to him. But I was like, no, I don't, sorry. But I thought that could be him doing rejection therapy. But to me, it was such a passing moment. But yeah, start small and slowly build yourself up.
I think you're going to get a video from me at some point where I'm just walking down the street going to the station. I've got a swim cap on my head.
Yeah, that could be it though. Wearing a hat, even just wearing a hat. or wearing that outfit you've been putting off, going to a new hobby, asking your friend to do something. Something that I used to do, which I didn't realise, is I'd suggest a plan for my friend, but then at the end of the message I'd say, it's fine if not. Stop saying it's fine if not. Just ask someone, do you want to go for a coffee on Tuesday? Because that's you kind of creating a cushion for the rejection. It's so interesting. It's changed my life in so many ways.
There's a good message to end on. Sophie, we always offer our guests a Drop Dead Generous grant. So we're giving 1,000 people $500 to pay it forward through an act of kindness, as imaginative and creative as you can imagine. So we'd love to, it'd be an honour to call you a grantee and follow up with you about giving you this money. And I think it would be I'm really curious to think how you could spend it on someone else in a way that gets this message of sort of confidence and not worrying about rejection. But it would be an honour if we could give you one of our grants.
Wow.
And
How much did you say?
$500, so about £380.
I thought you were about to be like, give me more. I was like, yes, negotiate.
Yeah. What's the worst that could happen if I say more?
Do you know my borrowing size?
I almost forgot. If you have listened or watched this song, first of all, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Second of all, I would love if you would share this episode with your community. We put a lot of hard work into making it, and I, for one, would love to keep my job, but also continue to make the show. So the more people who listen and watch, the more likely it is that we get to keep making it, the more people we reach and hopefully help, and the more creators we get to platform. So thank you so much. Please do share it, and I'll see you next week.